Effective communication, as is being covered in this series, is more in the format of one to many, as in one person communicate with a group of people. This could even be 2 people or 3 people. But anytime you have more than one person, the dynamics become one to many, as in one person talking to a group. This series is focused on providing you the necessary communication skills when you're talking to a group of people who may be part of your team, who may be part of the audience that you want to reach out to. These are principles that you can incorporate as part of your marketing strategy, your branding strategy, your business strategy. These skills that we're talking about here can also be applied to small groups and even one-to-one conversations, one-to-one communication. But the most optimum utilization of this series will be when you are able to take the points that we're discussing here. You're able to take the principles that I've shared here, in our whiteboard sessions, and apply them to your creative endeavors. And I can assure you that if you apply these principles in structuring your message in the right way, in sharing your message in the right way, doing the necessary background research in terms of the audience that you want to reach out to, the mediums that you want to reach out to these audience across, you will have a lot of success. Okay? And one of the reasons that this series has gotten a bit delayed is because I've been very busy with a few projects that are kind of in the burner right now. For example, my books, you can check them out. I have put them all on issue right now. You can find the link here given in the description box. Check them out. I'm going to be coming out with paperbacks of those books too, and workshops where we will be talking in terms of a group, and I'll be making batches of 9 individuals per group, per batch, and we're going to be talking about a lot of things moving further. When you've got the intention, the audience, and the medium decided, figured out, and out of the way, we now come to the last 4 parts out of the total of 7, which are focused around the message. Okay? The message depends quite a bit on the structure, the packaging, and the delivery. Let me explain. See, the message in itself, no matter how great, no matter how novel, no matter how advanced, the message in itself is like the final reveal. If you want your message to be relayed effectively to the right people, to have the right impact, the message in itself is a very powerful capsule that you need to deliver through the right mediums and the right processes. It doesn't matter if you're a great writer, a great blogger. It doesn't matter if you're a great orator. If you're not at the right place, if you're not using the right mediums, if you're not using the right packaging, the right delivery, the right structure, you will never be able to get the kind of traction that you want with your audience, no matter how small or big they may be. Okay? So when we're talking about structure, we're talking about building a structure that can achieve 3 main objectives. The first objective is that it should be able to grab the attention of your target audience. The second thing is, it should keep them engaged until the core message is reached or delivered. And number 3, a great structure should cause the target audience to be able to understand the material, to be able to align with the intention of the individual who is communicating. Now, how does this work? Let me give you an example. Let's say you're a reporter. As a reporter, if you are going live with a breaking news item, which is, let's say, like the stock market's crashing, or let's say a huge calamity, you want to cut to the chase and you want to inform as soon as possible so that the information spreads as fast as possible and is able to prevent any further difficulties that may arise as a result of this. Quite often you will see that journalists are quite criticized these days because they are said to sensationalize or politicize important issues. Why? Because as a journalist, as a person who is communicating strictly for the purpose of informing, your job is to provide information as fast as you can. Information that is unadulterated, information that is free of your interpretations, but information that is as accurate as possible, as is, directly to the audience, to be able to make a difference. In the same way, as a great writer, let's say, you're a fiction writer. If you want your books to be read, if you want new readers to start reading your book and be engaged and follow through till the end, to be able to grasp the concept of what you're trying to write, you need to write in a way that provides the reader sufficient ROI on their time. You don't want to write a book where a person is reading 700 pages for, across a week or 10 days of their life, and where they're ending up is something completely different from what the origin of the book had promised. For example, if you're writing something like Lord of the Rings, you have to stay true to the fantasy that is enclosed within that book's core messaging, to the ideas of, let's say, as in the case of the Lord of the Rings, the idea that the ring in itself represents everything that humans, that us mortal beings aspire to have, to possess. The concepts of greed, the concepts of sacrifice, and the concepts of rising above those base emotions, right? You have to stay true to the intention that is hidden beneath all of the layers of everything that you are sharing with the people who are taking out time to listen, who are taking out time to read. Now, the structure obviously is going to change depending on why you are communicating. If, let's say, you are a great writer, you do not want to give the final plot, you do not want to reveal the climax before the storyline has been built, before the character arcs have been developed. You won't be able to create anything entertaining if you were to go about in that fashion, right? In the same way, let's say you are communicating with a staff, with a team of 5 to 7 individuals, or making a presentation to your company board. The structure of the messaging should be such that it provides sufficient ROI to the people who are taking time out of their schedule to be in that meeting. So I'm not saying that it's not important for you to build an introduction. I'm not saying that it's important for you to warm up the audience before you can hit them with important facts and figures. I'm saying that it's important that the structure, and this might seem quite counterintuitive, based on the medium that you've picked, right? The average attention span, the average content duration of that medium, whatever it be, the structure sticks to the optimum time value associated with that interaction. What do I mean by that? I mean, if you have an hour allotted for an important presentation, the first focus when you're building a structure for that communication, a structure for that presentation, is to wrap it up within 50 minutes and leave 10 minutes in the end to bridge any informational gaps, to bridge any transmission gaps on the basis of what you envisioned, what you wanted to convey, and what was not conveyed perhaps. What happens is, when you start arranging the message throughout the structure in a way which is crisp and leaves time in the end for you to reach out to the individuals of the group who have not been able to understand that idea fully, you are also reiterating those set of facts to everybody else in the group. Okay? Even if you're looking to inform, you will see that teachers tend to do this quite a bit, if you notice it. Most teachers are great communicators. And most academicians are not necessarily great teachers, because to them the nuances of all of the facts, figures, etc. are just too precious to be ignored. But if you've ever observed a great teacher, you will see that they have these 3 tricks up their sleeves. Number 1, they're able to grab your attention and spark interest. Even if you were there already and you know that I'm here today to attend this presentation on how this new e-commerce strategy is going to change the cash flows for this company, even if you know already that I'm here, You want the person who is communicating with you, your group, to say something or start with something that gets you interested in not having to sit through this, but wanting to know more. Okay, so this, okay, so what more? Okay, so you constantly want to co-create in terms of the ideas that you're delivering with your audience. Therefore, keep in mind that the attention, engagement, and understanding are three important components. Three important components of the structure of a video, of a presentation, of a book, of a news report, of a white paper, of a research paper, that you have to divide that message in. When we're talking about the core message, this is what? This is nothing more than a finding. This is nothing more than a conclusion. This is nothing more than a conclusive distillation of the background for anything that you are going to sow the seeds of in the minds of your audience. Obviously, depending on what is being said and who it is being said to, the structure, the basic structure is going to change. But if you look here, I have arranged it in 4 basic parts with which you can arrange the structure of any message that you're trying to communicate. 20% of the entire message should be about grabbing the attention of the team, grabbing the attention of the group. How does this work? So this works, for example, let's say you are giving a presentation on how data science is actually not as effective as it's made out to be in improving the revenues of a company, okay, or improving the revenues of an e-commerce website. So if you want to build attention first towards an idea that potentially has a lot of opposition in the industry, a lot of opposition in terms of people thinking, is it really, I mean, they're just trying to sensationalize. We know for sure, because there are a lot of preconceived notions in the minds of your audience, right? Go back and watch the part about audience when, if you have trouble understanding the importance of that here. But let's say you are talking to an audience of tech experts, all of whom are experts in the area of data science as part of your company's team for a specific product, and you tell them that this obsession that you have with data is probably not as backed by proof as is being made out. And so let's say you open this presentation by telling them that in the past 3 months, applying the concepts of data science has been able to create not more than 2% growth in the average cart value of such and such e-commerce websites and such and such e-commerce chains in a particular sector. Obviously, this is going to demand that you do a lot of research at your end before you produce this information. But this is the foundation for you having a conversation with your audience in the preceding parts. In the same way, let's say you are a news anchor and you just have to come online and inform everybody that Donald Trump has won the elections in the US and he's going to be president again. So what do? You just come out and say it. You give the news item as it is, because that in itself is enough for you to garner all of the attention that you need from your audience. Okay? The core message, this should be the core message. So the core message in a news item like that would be what? The core message would be, what are going to be the effects of this new government? What are going to be the effects now that Trump is in place? What's going to happen? Now, this is usually, if you ever watch the news, you will see that a news anchor comes online, shares a breaking news item. The engagement happens after the core message has been delivered. So this core message here, my friends, 30% of the entire message that is being delivered, of that, the core message, I feel, on the basis of my analysis, on the basis of my research, should form not more than 30%. This is going to be like a slider. Let's say you are communicating to inform. The core message may be given right after the part where you've captured the attention of your audience. But let's say this is a research paper. In a research paper, you want attention first, then you want to build a background with respect to telling how you performed the experiment, or with respect to telling how and what led you to take a particular line of questioning, a particular line of experimentation, and then you arrive at the core message in terms of what evidence is pointing towards, what you think was the outcome of the research that you performed. And the understanding part is where you have to defend your paper out in public after you publish it. Okay, so understanding, and I know this can sound pretty complicated, communication is a highly nuanced art. Okay, I understand these videos are not meant for everybody, but I would be doing you a huge disservice if I would be holding back important facts that I know for sure you should incorporate to be able to do this effectively. So when you look at the structure of any form of communication, you can see that when we are talking about the core message, it will never come after the understanding. This understanding part is where we are building upon whatever core message it is. We are building upon this. And the upper two parts, the attention and engagement, may come together depending on what sort of communication this is. But this usually, in our usual lives, when we are talking to people in the form of written documents, talking to people in the form of videos, reels, white papers, or even giving a group presentation, these two parts of the structure, they come together. The attention, the engagement, and the core message. And after that, the understanding is something a lot of people ignore, because people presume that just by virtue of having given the message is now effectively communicated, and whatever needed to be said has been said, and so no more verification of facts is required, right? That causes the audience to miss out on a lot of important aspects of whatever the core message is. For example, let's pick up one of the most popular mediums. Let's say Instagram. Let's say you are a financial advice vlogger on Instagram, and you decide to make a new reel that you are ready to heavily promote. You have a great budget in place as well. What is the best structure that I would advise you along these lines to follow? Now, the utilization of the time that is at your disposal is going to depend to quite an extent on exactly what it is that you're communicating. Let's say this is a reel which is meant to educate people about the perils of investing in mutual funds blindly. Let's say it's that. Okay, so you've decided on picking 60 seconds as the ideal length for this entire communication. If you follow this general structure, 12 seconds should be attributed to the part where you are building the attention, 15 seconds should be attributed to the part where you are forming engagement with whoever's watching, 18 seconds for the core message, and 18 seconds for expanding upon that core message with examples, ideas, case studies, and also telling them to, let's say, subscribe to your channel and follow you and other links, etc., and things like that. But it doesn't really happen that way, does it? Why? We know, in terms of social media reels, even if we are not social media experts, by virtue of us watching and consuming that content on our own, we know that we usually do not give anybody 12 seconds to grab our attention. We usually decide within 1 second if we want to watch this person or not. Maybe not even 1 second, maybe in 0.1 second sometimes. We just scrolling, and if we don't like the look of what's in front of us, we may not even follow through. Okay, so this aspect is something that I'm going to cover in the next part that talks about the packaging. But this part is about talking about the structure. So what do you do in terms of the structure? Well, in terms of the structure, stick to the basic structure that I've shared here with you. This is going to help you out 80% of the time. In terms of the percentages and the duration for each component of this structure, that is something which is going to depend heavily on the data that you have at your disposal. This is something that's going to be technical. You will have to pull out videos, you will have to study other videos as well as much as possible, but you will have to pull out your previous videos and compare that data with the data of other videos. YouTube provides that. You will also find that quite easily in platforms like Issue, which talks about the average time that a person spent reading, the number of views, and you'll be able to compare, okay, this is the level of interest that a person has in the early stages, how much are they following through. And even in Instagram, if you go into the insights, you will be able to understand to quite an extent what are the points at where a viewer left your video, what are the actions that they took. Obviously, if you assign specific actions or specific goals attached with your communication, you can make a much better analysis of how effective that communication was and optimize the length of that entire communication and the placement of the core message. What do I mean by that? For example, you have an article, let's say that's 800 words long. And in that article that is 800 words long, you have included a link to a booking page or a link to a particular product or a link to a particular website, somewhere there. And you see that despite the fact that people are not completely reading through to the entire length of whatever that article is, or whatever that write-up is, but you're still getting a healthy amount of clicks in terms of the outcome that you're trying to measure to wherever you want these people to go, whatever actions you want them to take, then you can deduce from this fact that you probably over communicating. You need to shorten the complete length, the total length of the communication. In the same way, it quite often happens in company meetings. We are supposed to be here for an hour, but 30 minutes into the meeting, everybody understands what we had to talk about. Everybody understands what needed to be conveyed, what needed to be understood, what needed to be said, and that's about it. And you don't need the rest of the slides that are coming up after that. You have all agreed upon a unanimous solution to whatever problem that is, or course of action at the end of 30 minutes itself. What do? Well, you compile whatever is left of that excess communication, and you can share it in the form of a resource. You can share that as a resource, or you can share that in the form of a downloadable reference, or you could just print it out and you can circulate it and share. Okay, even though I understand what we have taken a complete decision, you do not need to look at the message or the content that follows, but even then, here's this for you. You can go over it in your own time, and maybe this will form a good foundation for us whenever we are talking about this next. Now, what I'm talking about here is not that different from this AIDA model when we're talking in terms of advertising, or when we're talking in terms of marketing. Attention, interest, desire, action, right? Now, even in this part, let's say attention, it's the beginning of a commercial. Let's say we're talking about rich Ghana cocoa chocolate, like Bonville or something of that sort, rare brand of chocolate. The attention is where you grab the attention of whoever's interested in chocolates, whoever's interested in sweets. The aesthetics of the advertisement does that. Interest, when you give them more information about what is so nice, what is so great about this product, in this case, a bar of chocolate. Desire is where the core message is delivered. Oh, sourced through the choicest, cocoa forests of Ghana, and forged in, I don't know, fire with the great fairies from the 7 continents, etc., etc. And we bring to you this wonderful bar of chocolate, which is nothing like anything that you've ever tasted. And in the end, the attention part is, where we talk about where you can buy it, where you can go, join the community, and etc., and things like that. It is not dissimilar from this formula. And that is for a reason, because advertising is also, a form of communication. So now, packaging is a very important aspect of this process, and we're going to talk about soon. But we're going to talk about the message in the next part. Guys, also, if you want to read articles across 8 different categories ranging from self-help, self-improvement, Vedic astrology, occult, yoga, nutrition, business, entrepreneurship, please do check out the Coach Kaushal magazine. I write over there, including my team, bringing to you some of the best articles across topics of wellness and self-improvement that I often see that you guys ask me in my sessions with you. Okay, so do give that a check out and follow our blog as well if you like it. And if you want a personal session with me, please follow the link given here in the description box. It's going to take you to my website. You'll have to fill up a form. As soon as I get it, I want to come back to you with date and time, and then we can move it forward. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Hari Om.